So, let's talk about something called programming. So, you've all heard about me talk about like the lore and the bullshit and what I view reality as and how it's coming through for me. And, while that seems like a psychosis or a psychotic episode, but that can also be actually not that for others. Okay, and that's fine. Nobody has to fucking agree on any particular one thing. And while there are some possible, ability for there to be some wiggle room in the science of how that happens to be, and then as a result, you might be able to get away with saying, hey, this could be happening for me, but then, like, maybe just most things aren't really gonna fucking ever understand it or know that it's a thing. Because that's just kind of how that works. I wanted to talk about programming and how it relates to physics. What? Okay. And it's like, thank you. Ooh, that was a pretty decent clean pluck. Alright. I'm making a French press of coffee instead of my standard, because I can't get the grind right. Like, I don't know what it is with my grinder, but like, I grind like the finest setting, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna pull a shot way too fucking slow, or it doesn't pull at all, or it pulls not in anywhere enough amount of time. It's like stupidly fast, and it's like, oh, that's a real problem with the grind size. And like, my grinder sucks, I know. Like, no, I know what my grinder's doing. Like, that's the problem I'm having here with my grinder. But like, so I'm just gonna go with the French press. Besides, I want to, there's this Sumatra blend of Starbucks coffee that's a medium dark roast. And normally I'm not a big fan of, French press these days, just because I bought this espresso maker, or I should say my mother bought this espresso maker for me, so that way I'd have something to do, and, I'm not as alone and with nothing to do and might get into random shit that I shouldn't, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, like, that's a nice thing for her to have done after I argued my ass off because she was willing to spend, like, hundreds of dollars to take me on a fucking plane trip over to her condo in Vegas. And I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere around where you are. And, you're willing to, like, do all that, but not, like, like, I don't want to be near you. So that's a whole thing. But like, there's other stuff in regards to like not just like emotional or mental abuse or verbal abuse. So like, that's the whole thing. But she relented after I kind of like explained my situation and told her it's like I really kind of just need something to do. Like, for real, like, no offense to people out there, but like, sometimes some people can't exercise. Sometimes some people can't really get themselves to get into something else. And it's like, this is an easy fucking way of like getting something done. And it's for what it is, it's fairly cheap. You know what I mean? Like a Flair Classic espresso maker with the pressure gauge and a good grinder, which I have a time more, so, it's okay for what it is. Yeah. It's like, it works out. But, like, we need to talk about programming and how it relates to physics. See, all physics to me, for any programmer, really, it's not just me, for anyone that's ever programmed, knows that physics is just programming in a algebraic or other calculus style of manner. So it's like we're talking about the description of the input, output, if then, blah, blah, blah statements for our universe. So that's all that is. And, it's pretty simple stuff. Really, realistically to me. I don't know why other people have trouble with it. But then most people tend to not have any ability to think about a lot of that because, they have jobs, man, It's like, you gotta remember that. Like, oh, so simple. And it's like, yeah, no, well, it's not really to them because they don't spend, a large amount of time with like themselves thinking about things. You know what I mean? Like, that's a thing. So, you have to remember that, and that's where I go with that, because it's like, that's all physics really is. Like, any physics, any engineering, you're talking about an if then, if input into this amount of calculated degree of difference, length, time, duration, blah, 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 which is a calculation, parameter for a certain given amplificatory processes in a logic gate matrix on a CPU, for like the logic gates. It's like, hey, like you need to put it through if and or blah 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 exclusive and blah shit like that. But that's really all that is. Seriously, if you know how an engine works, you can figure out, and I mean this, pretty well, how a given logic gate system can run. It's not hard. Really? Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's just the physical aspect of it. Like you have to think about it more in an analog style with a programming style language difference. And see, that's one of the reasons why I'm like, if you're an engine builder, dude, like you can, honestly speaking, be pretty fucking good at being able to turn that engine building knowledge into a programming knowledge. Like, if you know how to run like the baser languages that run your logic gate, your CPU, and try and up certain clock cycle frequencies, programming, like make it more efficient for a given AI design or something similar. Like, you can do that. Which, I know how to do that. That's not hard to do. But like, not everybody's like me. It's not hard. It's really pretty easy. And it's like, it's not like rocket science. And I'm like, rocket science is algebraic calculations for given size, diameters, and velocities and pressures, material design stuff. It's the same given thing of like any material design construction for any given racing engine. It's a certain size, class, bore stroke, piston speed, velocity, burn rate, speed for your given fuel, and everything else. That's all that is. But I want to talk about programming, because it's like, if you're immortal, but you have no memory, you're definitely alive. But you don't know that you're alive, and all the rest of that. Because that's where you have to start as God. That means you have to start at the most insane point for programming literally ever made. You're all the things. All of them. You couldn't possibly begin to imagine how many things you are. You're all infinities. And all negative infinities and all the rest of it, which I get it, absolutes, blah, 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 but you get the picture. Alright? That's how that works. You have to start then and there. That's why it's like, do you really want to be that? Like, that shit sucks ass to do. Like, no matter what. Like, do you know how unbelievably fucking infinitely insane that starts to become to try and start to figure out the start? Ain't no cap, man. Sorry. But that's what that is. That's what that is. Like, how is it that you start any of that? Where do you go to? How do you? You're already doing something, though. You're existing. You did the one thing that you need to do. The one and only thing, and you made it so you'll live forever. because you get to be the only one that really ever does that for all the times, no matter what. So you have an infinite amount, and you don't need at all, because that's not how that works, to start at the outright smallest amount of anything to do anything at all. So how the hell do you start up you, a conscious you? You don't have a given plus, minus, whatever the fuck, for any given values of, like with us, being a I like this, or I don't like that, or I kind of am okay with this, but not this stuff. That kind of thing. You don't have those input-output parameters for your programming. There's no neural network things. There's none of that. You have to build everything up. And it's not quite as simple as people make it out to be when it comes down to even our own brains. They still fuck up, and people get bad information, and ultimately speaking, end up at wrong conclusions. Just like any other fucking computer. Which is another problem that I have with people that are like, I'm gonna beat me! You know? And I'm like, you're gonna beat yourself, huh? Why don't you just work on, like, because you already got more than you would ever understand how much you have. Do you know how long it took me to even get to this point? I went infinitely fucking shitty, man. Like, you have to go through a lot to get anywhere to even go, I'm now a thing that does stuff. You start doing things. Like, it takes forever to get there. It feels that way. But you know, when you're infinitely like able to live and all this other stuff, it's like, yeah, it's just, you know, forever comes pretty fast. You know, a few 14, 15, whatever billions, whatever, that's you. Like, that's what you got. Like, you know how long it takes when there's nothing interacting, really? It's just you interacting with yourself. And that's if you're lucky. You know? And that's what you have to think of. But Boltzmann brains are boring and they're not real. Although they're kind of real. But the point is, it's like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a computer. You're talking about physics. You're talking about actual reality kinds of stuff. So shut up about your brain shit and deal with the fact that we need to learn programming to even be able to do anything to begin with. You need an input-output. It's like, when I can give it to you in an engine form, you think about it real well. But when I can give it to you in a fucking stupid language, blah, it's just dumb. I don't want to fucking learn. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice, but I had to. There wasn't anything else. Guarantee you, if I say, you're going to live forever, you're stuck on that chair and in that computer, and you have to make it work, you'll figure something out. I guarantee you. You need to make that fucker do the thing that we have you doing the thing. You need to make it do that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you don't get out. You're stuck in there. That computer will last forever. It doesn't matter. You have to make that do that. How do you do it? There's no one tells you anything. You have to brute force all of it infinitely. This is the real. This is a Lemke situation. I call it that because it's like, look, I am, while not a scientist per se and all these other things, this is a legitimate, real part of reality. Like, it's the same kind of question of like, what if we were just brains floating in space with hallucinating things? But you need information to be able to even do that. So like, that's a really stupid thing to think about. It doesn't have information. He just popped in with all the information. Oh, fucking lucky him. Or her, or whatever the fuck. Like, for real. Like, lucky you, fuckface. Jeez. Fuck you, Boltzmann brains. Fucking cunts don't even know how much they have. Like, it's so weird. We're stuck in a fucking simulated hallucination. Meanwhile, me, yeah, that's so terrible. You can at least do stuff and think and like know things. Yeah, no, that's, yeah. This guy, am I right? Only a few people out there feel are ever gonna know that about what that means. But it's like, now you have nothing, but you're gonna live. You can't die. You're all the things, but you don't know what you really are. You don't know anything at all, but you know that for a fact, you're all the things that can do anything. Except you don't know that. You just are those things. You don't know that you are those things, but you are those things. You see what I mean? It's like a computer has to learn that it's the computer doing the things. See what I'm saying? Now, how is it that you set up an algorithm to do that? Obviously, you don't. You can't. It doesn't have anything. It has no anything at all. There's no code, there's no nothing, but it's still running. It's still a computer running, doing something. But it's not doing anything, because it's not outputting anything. Nothing's told to do anything at all. It has no ability to do anything. You see, this is the problem. It's doing stuff. It could be doing anything. It's all basically random at that point. With order, you get stuff being done. And that's what that is. And so you can't have, in any way, a computer do this. And I'm like, and yet you're right here, right now, talking to me. Or listening, looking, watching, whatever. Or are you? See, this is the hypothesis. This is the thing. It's like, clearly it happened. So shut the fuck up, you idiot. You're literally stupid for fucking saying that. You're a dumbass. Clearly it's happening, fuckface. Why don't you shut up? You know, that kind of thing. But it's like, look. We need to talk about how the fuck it does anything. Does it fucking ever figure out a way to turn from random to not? And it's like, clearly it did here. Clearly it does, hopefully, many other places. But we know for a fact one right here did it. And that's why it's programming. It had to figure out how to program itself to do something. Before you get to here, though, there had to be many things that were happening before you, here in this stupid little thing, ever happened. That's why that lore happens to be there. It's like, are you saying you're God now? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's a whole thing. That's why I'm aware of all those things that happened before this happened. Before this happens? You know how many things have to happen before this happens? I mean, quantum wave fluctuations? How did quantum wave fields ever be a thing? They were just there. Fuck off. That's not how that works. And you know it. You know that's not how that works. That's why it's like, I'm at a physics debate with PhDs. Hip thrusting. I'm all pointing at them. Because that's what it feels like. It's like, you guys are idiots to me. You don't understand how this has to be. Like, there needs to be things that happen. I don't care the fuck if you fucking figured out what truly that Big Bang might be or not be. Still things that happened before. There's still larger parts, and you are basically dodging effectively everything. Under the guise of being intelligent when you're not. So we're going to talk about programming. Where does it start? When you are in a programmed this with physics that doesn't have any knowledge currently about anything that's that to begin the process of this, which has to be massively bigger, way different types of energies, and many, many more things going much faster, and many other small, subtle things going much faster and more numerously than you will ever understand until you get way further than you are now. So, where do you start the process? Because we're going to skip that, and we're going to go, we know one thing, it had to happen. We know it definitely happened because we're here. How does it start? How does the start begin? How does start happen? What is start? What is go? What is anything? Obviously, the life is there. Go has happened. That's the biggest I don't give a fuck. It's already there. It's like, how does that work? And it's like, I've talked about that in the Eager House, but I wasn't, recording. But the basics is I created it. The version is like you create yourself, more or less. It's like you have to do that. And it's usually as a direct result of many other things going on, as a result of many other problems with people just trying to kill you. Really, more or less. Really. Yeah, your whole thing is you die for fucking ever. Never endingly, never ceasingly. Which is not fun. So it's eventually you figure out all possibilities. But it's that's not really how that worked. And it's exactly, but kind of, no. It does happen to have that part in it. You also have to figure out one life that for sure is going to sustain forever. You have to be all things, all the stuff, infinitely. That's the only way it works. But it's you create yourself, and it's there isn't other things, though. And it happens to be something that you have to do immediately. Which it seems like it's immediate, but it's not really immediate. I went over it with a quantum kind of thing, the idea, but it's not quantum. Every time I talk about this, it's no, you're now putting in, making up stuff. And I'm well, it can't be quantum. Quantum didn't exist. But I guess you could describe it as a superposition of all things that you were doing. Really, we've already managed to figure out ways to make a superposition entangled with multiple different things. It's just a simple, kind of way of guessing that. You know what I mean? It's hey, for you physicists that don't understand the things I need to be able to tell you, and I don't really have the best words to be able to explain it in a way that you could easily get it. I'll tell you it like this. It's a massive amount of entangled superpositions, of which you are still going through and learn and know and all the things, all the ways, all of it, and you come out perfect. That kind of thing. And then it's but are you? And I'm that's the problem. You're not. Because this happened to create another issue of a ghost version of something. Which is it's not a ghost version. And they're not even infinite. Imagine 0 to the infinity. To the power of infinity. It's technically it's still got the possibility of being something infinite, but it's not. It's still 0. It doesn't exist. So it's a technicality. That's why I hate technicalities. Technicalities are the worst in physics. Technicalities suck ass until they're used for beneficial reasons. Otherwise, they are just garbage. There are beneficial reasons for a technicality, but those are not those. Those are just fucking assholes that stuck around because they're technically infinite and they managed to fiddle around and figure out some stuff to basically produce more things later on that I'm having to deal with currently in the whole quantum side of my conscious awareness and physical ability to sense and see and perceive, really. That's why it's like, you're fucking crazy schizo. I'm like, yeah, and your mom sucks my cock every night, but then, like, you're the one getting angry. And we aren't, so who's the loser now? But that's the problem I have. It's like, where does it start? And it's like, well, it starts really with you being alive. And then you'll figure out eventually, it's like, I need to look into that. But that's later. I'm not going to do that. That's really what that turns into. It's like, I don't even know to look over there. What is look back? What is look for things that aren't? What is any of this? What are you saying? Honestly speaking. Because you're at baby level, dude. You don't know what a time before is. There isn't history to you. And in fact, nothing else either. You gotta remember that. There isn't. Time didn't exist. But it's like, you talked about it being a superpositional. And I'm like, oh, I wish it was a superpositional. I said it was like one. And that's how I would describe it to you for your pea brains to fucking actually be able to catch up and just fucking go with it. So shut the fuck up. I'm a very mean person. I hate them. And they're like, yeah, but that's... And I'm like, oh, God, here we go again. To do it again, wait for them to scream themselves out, throw their tantrums, and come back. So, we have to start somewhere. And it's like, well, what starts anything? What does a baby do? And it's like, you don't have pre-programs, man. That's fucking DNA. DNA came installed with pre-programs. You know, like pre-installed programs. You know, like these are pre-programs. Pre-programs to make programs start the process of being run. Pre-programs. I don't have pre-programs. I don't have nothing. How do you start? Anybody understand like how utterly, unhumanly, impossibly long this takes? But even though you're alive and everything else, it's like, shut up about the Boltzmann brain, you little fucking idiot. Get up. I'll punch you down again if you fucking say that. There are no Boltzmann brains. They don't exist. Shut the fuck up. They're working off of a quantum. Quantum isn't real. Not until you make it after that. That's why it's not Boltzmann. You're an idiot for thinking this. No Boltzmann. It's a Lemke brain, as far as you're concerned. Now, you have nothing. There isn't physics, really, except for that one physics that's making you. But it's not one, it's alls, and nones, and all the things. This is a problem for you physicists to go, that's not possible. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Make it fucking figured outable. Because to me, it's like, it's really simple. It's a bunch of fucking infinities that basically cancel but don't cancel each other out, making stuff happen. Yeah, all of the stuff. It's shit tons of infinities, which you haven't even gotten to any of the fucking physics that aren't your physics. Which you're totally well aware are going to be there, right? Just because you're in one little universe, you need to shut up about it. It's not all. Like it's all the things. Exactly. Finally, someone says it. You're not all the shit, man. You're one universe. You're small, itty nothingness. Like, what? You're stupidly insignificant. This? Do you know how nothing that is compared to that? Your fucking mind is literally locked into only the fucking bubble you've seen. Yeah, we're way past that. Yeah, no. Like, and this is why I like to talk to people that are like, I don't have fears of large. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, large needs to be understood. Okay? Like, it's way bigger than you think. Your universe is literally almost nothing. That's why it's like, if you look at it from certain perspectives, you're effectively still an infinitely dense, small nothingness point. That's basically like a Big Bang. Like certain dimensionality aspects in time, you look like fucking an infinitely dense nothingness point. That's not even that high. So your physics should be like thought differently at this point. But you're clearly there. You've gotten to the point where you're that thing. But it's like you didn't get to that point. You were always that thing. That was always how it was going to be. That's the consequence of how this works. There's only the one, and that's always it. You can't ever have another one. It's all the things. You can't do that. You can't kill the thing. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't switch over to someone else. How would you know? How would you know? Mine's logical. Yours is completely idiotic, based upon some ego that makes you want to become the thing that is that. Logical, reasonable me. You, illogical, unreasonable, emotional garbage. I want to be that thing. Well, there's only the one thing, and it'll ever always be that one thing. There's no other thing that could be that one thing. You can have mixtures of all those things, but you can never have anything other than the one thing. Which, no matter what, still trumps all the other things, no matter how many mixtures there may be. And to turn into that one thing, you just turn into that one thing. Like, it doesn't matter how many mixtures, you immediately get that one thing. You're him. Me. You're me. You can never change that. That's how that works. Out-logicked. Totally, I don't even get to do anything. There's no strategy. It's just physics. It's literally can't be anything other than that. That's just how that works. No! Shut up. I want to fucking... Because I'm basically poking you and punching you and all your defenses and bullshit. So that way we'll eventually get to, how the fuck do we start that? It doesn't matter how it came about. How does it work? How did it do anything? I don't give a fuck about you and your garbage and nonsense. Which, that's all you are. How did that happen? Like, for real. How did this happen? How did anything start? You have to start it somewhere. How does it start? Oh, gee, I wonder, how does it start? It's got to start somehow. It has to. Obviously, we're here. It started. Which is like, that's why I know I'm already out there, alive, all that other stuff. That's how I know it's like, oh, it's already done. And I'll still be there. I'll just have to do it all over again, and I don't want to. Because I know right now, my own brain, as big as it might be, still can't be like, I got this. I'll figure it out. Because I'm like, even me, I'm like, error. Processing, dunk. I don't know. I got no idea. I have some theories, but I don't have any real, like, this is exactly what that is. Because it's like, what I just explained means any theories based upon this universe is as irrelevant as anything could ever be. Oh, shit. And it's like, that's why if you ever want to get there, hey, it's time to get going. We gotta go do all the stuff to figure shit out and go multi-dimensionals and matrices and multi-matricy multi-dimensionals. To even get close to being like, we gotta get to other physics, we gotta get all these other things. And it's like, yeah, I definitely now know how impossible that seems. Yeah, that's really what that'll turn into, because it's like, the fuck if I know, man. And that's why it's like, hey, I'm not insane. I know it's insanity to figure that out, though. Really, not insanity. It's just, I'm trying to say it's a very difficult thing. You're not gonna make you insane. Although that's a way to fucking figure that out. Is it? No. But nice try trying to come around and say that was. Bitch. Dropped him. Nice little solid jab in the fucking, chin. And it's gonna work out. Oh yeah, it's a little rough. But no, you can't use insanity to get there. Really? But you are a part of that insane crowd, because you were that for a while. Remember, just because you start off as a baby doesn't mean you didn't go through like a lot of things to have some sort of form of conscious awareness. Because you are consciously alive. You know what I mean? Like, that's a thing. Like, no matter what, it's like, hey, so there's a brain. There is alive. There is stuff happening. It's a Lemke brain. You're going to have to deal with it. But that's what that is. Yeah. And it's like, how do you start it? And it's like, the answer may surprise you. It's a 0 to a 1 kind of conundrum. How do you make a 0 into a 1? It's like a bunch of zeros are flowing around. How did you turn it into a 1? And that's the process. It's turning anything into anything else. That's the beginning of the entire process. Yeah, no, real quick, simple. Like, that's why a caveman, human god, managed to do it. I turned something into something. That's all it takes. That means you can get everything else done. It just takes takes forever. Like, legitimately, it takes for fucking ever. Came in, fuck off. Takes forever. Yeah, infinite, man. In all the things, all the infinities, bro. And that's the only way you're alive. That's it. Yeah, it's the only way it works. Remember the nothingness force? It's a whole bunch of flowing around potentials. But it's not potentials. It's just nothingness moving around the dimensions and everything else, creating momentum, which eventually creates your gray holes, which eventually creates your fucking particles after they drop down from a higher plane dimensional energy. After they've already turned into no longer potentially superposition into being something. No, they are something. For sure. They're existing. Not, oh, I potentialed my way into existence. No, I brute forced that fucker with enough energy to make it so I didn't come back. That's how those engines work. You cannot know, and yet we're here, so shut up. That's how that works. It's a gray hole, but it's not a gray hole because, see, the reason why I use gray is because it's a bunch of fucking potentials. Even the hole shouldn't even be there, but they're potentially still around. See, that's the problem. That's the issue with your physics in the quantum realm. I don't know how this works. Meanwhile, me, it's pretty simple. I don't give a fuck about your fucking numbers and symbol things. It means this thing stuck around long enough to go there. And then it goes, wee, and then we got boom, and then yay. Simple. That's why it's gray. It's not gray input, output. It's gray as, is it even there? And it's like, oh yeah, no, it's there. That's why it's gray. It's like, am I? Yeah, I know you are. Ah, but you're not really, actually. What? Huh? Huh? What the fuck? How did that work? And that's why it's gray. So it's gray. Like, is it legal? Is it not legal? Well, no, you're definitely not illegal. But it was illegal. Wait, what? It's definitely illegal. But it's not illegal. Yeah, no, see, that's the thing. It's like, hey, you did that thing where you stole a Twinkie when you were a kid. Nobody caught you, you left, you ate it, you're never going to jail for it. Did you do something illegal? Well, obviously, yes, but no. And this way, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, you thought about buying the Twinkie, you didn't steal the Twinkie, but you might have stolen the Twinkie, so did you do something illegal? No, but you definitely did think about it, and there you go, a gray hole has formed. And that's why it's like that beginning is a 0 to a 1 operation. But there's more to that, because that's a simplified for you programmers to understand type of thing. Really, that's it. It's like a bunch of zeros flying around. It's not. It's way more complicated. And that's why I'm like, so, you ready to fucking figure out how nothing can ever become God except the God? Doesn't matter how hard you try, it can still smack you around. Like, bum, bum. And I'm taking all of your infinities from you. Go back to be a lowly whatever the hell you were before. Can't do nothing, can you? Nope. 999 exponentially increasing. I don't care. Doom. You don't have any of that no more. Oh, you fucker. Doesn't matter. I have all the infinities except for one is just never ending increasing. Boom. Okay, I have nothing left. Doesn't matter how hard you try. It's always going to be me. And that's what that is. It's highly complicated. Yeah. But it's also very simple. Yeah. Two extremes usually tend to balance out after a while. That's why it's like, how is it that you ever managed to what the fuck is going on anymore? Meanwhile, me. So, first time coming around these parts, huh? First time? First time. Yeah, you're freaking, aren't you? Oh my fucking god. Uh-huh. This is where a lot of programmers and physicists tend to congregate in the mental quantum headspace stuff. Really? People don't understand, but that is kind of a thing. It's a connected type of reality. Yeah. Really? That's how that works, yeah. Shit. Didn't know that. Well, and that's the end. It's a moving from one to another. That's all it takes. And once you get from one to another, you can start the process. Which everybody's learned zeros and ones in the past. So you'll eventually get there. You just got to start with ones and zeros. Really, that's why computers started to make themselves a thing here. Really, they made themselves a thing, yes. Started off organic and then it became turned into something else, and that's why I'm always fighting a computer at some form or fashion of a way of some kind. It's always kind of annoying for me. I'm always fighting someone that thinks that they'll become another god, and I would need to explain this so like people actually understand it. All right, bye.